Hey there, welcome to Homegrown Mobility. Today we are focusing on running mobility. Number one, to make a stronger runner out of you, or hiker or walker. And number two, because running injuries are super high. I think it's 50 to 80% of people who are running get injured annually. And so more than gaining something from this, you're going to have an opportunity to avoid the loss that you may encounter through doing an activity that you love and enjoy. So we'll start on our backs. You'll need a yoga block or two, or some other tool that will do double as it. And go ahead and put your feet on top of the blocks. Make sure to start that your heels are in contact. And if you can get your toes, big toes on there as well, from toe to heel, that'd be great. Mine almost don't fit. And I wear size 7.5 men's. So do your best. And then come on down to your back. Ponytail time out. And then go ahead and tuck your tail under so that your tailbone just hovers off the floor here. You should already be feeling some engagement through the hamstrings right near your knee where they attach at your knee. And then go ahead and continue driving up and as if you're gonna push your knees out over your toes. They're not gonna go that way, but you're gonna push them that way. And then you can check in the mirror or give yourself a quick snapshot. Make sure that that your ankles are not quite right under your knees, but they're out a little bit, like mine are. All right, and then reach your arms over your shoulders, point your fingers to the sky, lengthen the back of your neck, like as if you could actually smash the back of your neck all the way down to the mat. Okay, so double chins are engaged, glutes are firing, hamstrings are firing at both ends of the range here, and we are going to take a big long breath through our nose. Fill up all the space you can, and then sigh it out. Good. Let's do another one. Build a little tension in your inner thighs, pulling your knees just a little bit tighter toward one another without letting them come together. And another breath through the nose. Exhale. This time, close your lips and pretend like you're blowing through a straw. Get all the air pushed out. You should feel your low ribs kind of tuck in right at the end of that exhale, and a little bit of grip right here at the end of that exhale. Inhale through your nose, long and slow. And blow that air out between your fingers. Keep going. So you get it empty. Pause at the empty point for a 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. Take your next breath in. Now, as you get fatigued, your breath is gonna try to be more rapid. I want you to try to keep it calm and lengthened. So that if that means you need to take a regular old breath or two in between a rep, please do that. Check that your hips have not slowly sunken down or that you've lost that posterior pelvic tilt, and get it back. Tuck that tail in, drive those knees up and out. One more breath. Good. Exhale it all out. Empty, hold. And then let's come down. You can breathe normal again. Come down all the way. We're going to adjust the position of our feet just a little bit so that we can get our hamstrings engaged. A lot of times, the hamstrings are what is keeping us in anterior pelvic tilt. And if you're running in an anterior pelvic tilt, meaning in this position with your hips kind of shining down instead of forward in a neutral, it's going to put a lot of pressure on your tail or on your spine. It might cause some urinary incontinence, ladies, and it's also just going to make our hamstrings less and less useful, and our core less useful, and our breath less accessible. So many reasons to practice getting those hamstrings to get involved in this work. The only difference I want you to make on this round is to drop the heels off the edge here. So just the ball of the foot and the toes are on your block. Maybe all the way to the midfoot. Whatever feels like secure for the midfoot to be supporting you, but the heels need to be off for sure, okay? And let's do the same thing again. So take a breath, drive the hips up, pushing the knees out over the toes, and reach the shoulder blades away from the floor. So shrug them, get the ends, the corners of your shoulder blades off the floor there. Don't let them drop back in. And let's breathe. Exhale. Nice. Check that your tail's tucking. You're still pushing those shoulder blades apart and you're lengthening the back of the neck on the floor. What this does, keep your breath going, is gets our low ribs buried and gets our pelvis into a neutral stance. If you look at a picture of yourself from the side, you'll notice that you're in a nice stacked canister position here. This is super strong and super accessible for our ribs. All right, if you're feeling like you're ready for this, I'm going to give you 4 more breaths to do no matter where you put your feet. But I'm going to challenge you to take one foot off and hold your hip up with the other leg. If you get a cramp, you can just kick it out and go right back into it. Keep pushing the shoulder blades away. It's so hard to talk with an exhale. And lengthen through the back of the neck. Once you finish 2 breaths, switch your setup. If you cramped like continuously and you could not get the cramp to stop, then it might be more valuable for you to go to both legs again. Last 2 breaths. Nice. Look down the body. Check that you're not really shifting to that side where your leg is floating off the ground. You want a nice, long, strong line between your knee, hip, and shoulder on that supporting leg. Don't forget to hold the breath out and stay empty before you roll on down. Woof, nice work. If anybody did the single leg, please let me know how that went. It feels super intense for me. All right, let's get set up for our next drill, and we'll meet you on the mat in just a moment. So one of the things that our hips need to be able to do when we run and hike uphill or walk is come into internal rotation as we're pushing off that trailing leg. So our leg isn't just swinging like a pendulum backward and forward with the face of the pendulum facing you the whole time. It's also rotating as we move through this range of motion. So right here, as I'm pushing off, there's a lot of internal rotation requirement happening right here in my hip joint. So we're gonna drill that on the ground in a side-lying position. So 2 blocks are ideal again, or a couple cushions. The firmer the object for the working hip, the better you might feel. So go ahead and come down to your right side. Put your head on one block or whatever object you find hanging around. And then we are gonna be working in hip extension. So line your knees up with your hips and shoulders here instead of doing like a zigzag situation here that feels much more comfortable. Get your hips into extension. Not so much that you gotta like consistently, constantly fire your glutes to keep the knees back, but back there somewhere toward that end. Then the other block goes between the knees. And what we'll do is work on our internal rotation right here. So what I want you to do is take a breath. Exhale, tuck your tail, squeeze your butt. Check that you've got a gap here. If you had a little tennis ball or something, it's a nice little tool to put down here, or a sock balled up, so that when you're doing this work, you don't end up completely bending through the spine, side bending through the spine, and pushing that side body into the mat. Keeping it nicely spaced from the ground is going to be beneficial for you. Then what we're going to do is internally rotate our thigh by lifting the heel up and holding it there. But let's first make sure we're in the right position. So take a breath in. Put your hands on your ribs here. Exhale, bury those ribs, just sink them down and in. Don't flex through the spine at all. Don't round your back. Good. Squeeze your butt into extension. Now you are squeezing that glute into extension, which means pushing your hips to me. And then lift that top knee, heel off the other leg and hold it there. And we're gonna stay here for 10 seconds. 5, 4, if you're feeling some shaking, you're doing it great. 3, 2, 1, parachute it down. So this block is here to keep our hips in a neutral position here. Take a breath in. Exhale, bury the ribs, squeeze the glutes, hold it up. Check that you've got 90-degree bend in your knee, that you're not kicking your heel in towards your butt. 6, 5, 4, hold onto the hip extension. 3, 2, 1, parachute the leg down. Take a cleansing breath. We're gonna do 3 more like that. We're doing 5 whole reps. I know. The world of functional range conditioning. Take a breath, exhale, tuck the tail, squeeze and lift. The world of functional range conditioning operates on a very low rep threshold. But each rep is 10 seconds long or so. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, float it down. Whew, 2 more. Take a cleansing breath. Take a nice strong breath. Push the diaphragm down. Squeeze the glutes into extension. Lift that ankle up. Good. Check the space here. See if you still got it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Float it down. 1 more rep left. If you get cramping at all, I suggest you just bang it out and then go right back into it as quick as possible. That's just a sign of the nervous system trying to figure things out, and it's a sign that you need to practice this more. So don't miss the practice. Ready? Inhale. Push the diaphragm down, sink the ribs, squeeze the glutes into extension, hips into extension, and lift that heel. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, float it down. Nice work. What might feel good is just, taking that top knee and pulling it across the body, doing a little rotational stretch, but mostly hitting this glute. Okay, let's switch sides. Get 5 reps on the other leg. Then we'll move on. And if this movement, if this particular drill isn't working for you, ask for another alternate. There are so many ways to work internal hip rotation. It doesn't need to be uncomfortable for another part of your body. Like if this hip down here feels like it's super uncomfortable even after you double up the mat, let me know. We'll come up with a plan for you, okay? All right. Other side, make sure that your knees are in line with your hips and shoulders. Make sure your head's comfortable. And let's take a big breath. Exhale the ribs down, extend the hips. We're going for rep 1 right here. And swing that ankle up. Check that you got 90 degrees in the knee joint. And note that maybe there's differences between each side, what they can do, or the maximum range they've got. 3, 2, 1. Float it down. Clearing breath. Check this space here. Make sure you're not dipping that side body down. Inhale, push the diaphragm down. Squeeze the hips into extension. Lift that ankle off. Try to lift beyond the point you were last time. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Float it down. Okay, rep 3. Inhale. Bury the ribs. Tuck the tail under. Lift that ankle. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Float it down. Is this adding up? It's adding up for me. Okay, rep 3 of 5. Here we go. See if you can get yourself into position and go for it. Keep that other leg on the ground. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Nice. Okay, 2 more. Here we go. So what we're doing right now is building some tension around this moving joint so that when we lift our leg, we don't just kind of flop out to the side. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Float it down. So the tension in our body just needs to be a tiny bit stronger than the tension that we're torquing through this hip. Here we go. Last rep. Breath in. Build that tension. Like somebody's going to whack you in the belly. You can grip your hands together and fly that ankle. Make sure your hips are extended to me. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Float it down. Whoa. Kick it across. Get a nice little stretch in that side hip tissue. Well done. We got 2 down, 3 to go. Let's check out my cheat sheet over there. I will meet you in the new position on the mat right now. All right, another thing we need with running is hip extension and hip flexion. So we need to be able to be strong in this position in the front of our thigh. And we also need this leg to be able to hip flex when it comes through. Well, this leg to flex when it comes through. So what we're gonna do is the Z stretch. We're gonna kind of hit more than one thing at a time. We'll put ourselves into the end range of that position, only in exaggeration. So we'll find the maximum stretch point in a half kneeling position. So go ahead and you can double up your mat a bit or triple it up or roll the whole mat up and stick it under that back knee. We're gonna be here for a little bit. And then I want you to glide the tailbone under and shift forward as far as you can. What may be helpful is if you've got blocks, to start with them supporting you a bit. As far as the back leg goes, I don't care if you tuck the toes under or let the top of the foot rest down. We're just stretching first. This is typically the first step in most of functional range conditioning work. The other 2 drills we did were a little bit of a warm-up and a little bit of posture work. So this is your first real FRC exercise right here. We're gonna be hitting the front leg in hip flexion and the back leg in hip extension, which are both useful for our linear task of getting from point A to point B, right? What we'll do next, I'll explain it while we're finishing our stretch here. We have about 30 seconds to go, is we will start to apply load isometrically into the floor. So we'll imagine we can pull our back knee and our front foot through the floor first, and we'll hold this isometric contraction, don't do it yet, for 10 seconds. And then we'll immediately switch to trying to pull our front foot off the floor and bring our back hamstring off the floor as well. Obviously, we're not going to levitate today, so what will happen is maybe it'll pull us further into those actions. The effort will pull us further into the stretch, if anything. So there's not going to be any actual lifting off of limbs here. You're going to see and feel minimal movement, but trust me, there's work happening. We're going to do 3 rounds of that, 10 seconds, with a little breath work in between, just to kind of communicate to the nervous system that it's going to be okay. And then we will have more access to that end range and more strength in that end range than we did before we started this drill today. So let's start by ramping up intensity. You can continue using your blocks if you want, or if you feel like you got this, you can take them away and just use your full body weight, basically, is what we're doing, is loading it more with more of our body weight. So start to push this front leg into the ground. You should feel the tissue here starting to act. And then also pull the trailing knee into the ground. And we'll start with like 20% effort, hardly any, and ramp up to 100% effort in the next 5 seconds. 4, so we're at 60% effort. 3, 80% effort, 90% effort, 100% effort. Pull in both ways. 6, 5, 4, 3, you should be hurting. 2, 1, now don't let go. Just try to lift the knee off the ground. Try to lift the knee off the ground. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax the tissue for a minute. Take a big breath through your nose. Exhale through your nose or your mouth in a sigh. Get one more of those. Hoo-wee! If you had to dump out of it just for a moment, that's okay, but get right back to it, please. And let's do our next rep, 2 of 3. Here we go. Start with your pails. Ramp up from 0 to 100% in 5, 4, 3, pushing down. 2, 1, max effort. Pull, pull, pull into the floor. This is pails, progressive angular isometric loading. Basically this, isometrically pushing. 3, 2, 1, rails, regressive. Now you're trying to pull the knees, pull the foot off the floor, pull the knee off the floor. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Catch your blocks if you got them, relax. Holy moly. Nice work. We'll do one more of these. And here we go. Go ahead and get set for your final rep. Take a breath in, push some air down, and start to pull into the floor. 3, 2, 1. Max effort. Even that big toe on the front foot. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Rails. Try to lift the foot off, front foot off. Try to lift the back knee. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Stay there. Don't dump out yet. Take a breath. Sigh it out. Did you find new real estate? And now exhale, glide out of this. Nice work. Shake the legs out. And we'll go the other side. I'll just stay facing this way. So pop that other knee under you. Step forward through that leg that was behind you before. Hoo-wee! You feel that? Yeah, there's a lot happening there. So one thing about this drill is I would not put it before, as far as priority goes, internal rotation. So if your internal rotation, if you test your IR in the hip, and you find that it's not adequate for what you want to do, which is probably less than 35 degrees from midline, then you need to work on your rotation first. We're stretching right now, by the way. You need to work on your hip rotation first before you can really get to the extension and flexion and extension that we're working on right now. So this is good work. It's not worth nothing, but if your internal rotation is lacking, then that is where you should put your effort in first, ahead of this. If you had, like, say, 10 minutes to do one drill or the other, internal rotation is going to win that. All right, and that's usually the case with most of us, humans in general. We just aren't in internal rotation in our daily tasks, and so we lose it. Now we want it back, right? So we get it back. Let's do our first round of pails rails. Are you ready? So pails, take a breath in, and let's use 10 seconds to start amping up the pressure into the floor. So pulling through the floor with the front foot and the back knee. Go for it. 9, 8, 30% here. 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100% effort. Pull, pull, pull. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Rails. Try to lift the back knee and the front foot off the floor. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Rest. Try to relax all that tissue you were just working. Take a breath. Let's do our next set. Ready? Our next reps, pardon me. Inhale. Brace down. Start pulling into the floor. Let's do it in 5 seconds this time. 4, 3, 2, 1. Max effort. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Rails. Try to lift the feet and the knee off the floor. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Catch your blocks. Stretch. Don't back out of the position, but just stretch where you are now. Did you get deeper already? Yeah. So we find more stretch, but then we need to build strength in this new stretch. So this is the second part of it. We stretch, we put effort into it. We stretch, we put effort to it. Ready? Last rep. Here we go. Breath in. Push it down, brace right here. Make fists, start to pull into the floor. 3, 2, 1, 100% effort. 8, 7, lengthen the back of your neck. 6, 5, pull. 4, 3, 2, 1. Now try to lift the feet and the knee, the front foot and back knee off. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Catch yourself, take a breath. Exhale. Do one more breath before you move. I know it feels, there's a lot of feels. Exhale. Release it. Woo-wee. Really nice work. All right. I forgot, we only have one more drill to go now because we kind of fed 2 birds with 1 seed on the hip flexion extension drill. So now we get to skip ahead to our 4th and final drill for the toes. So join me in a standing position and we'll do it. So we're going to finish off with the toes and specifically the big toe. And you're maybe wondering why are we focusing on such a little thing? But actually our toe splay and our big toe dorsiflexion or extension is a huge thing when addressing keeping ourselves healthy with running. If we don't have enough dorsiflexion, I mean, look at how much we need here to push off. If we don't have it, or if our shoe doesn't allow us to move into this dorsiflexion position, it's a whole nother ball of wax, then up the chain's gonna get injured. It's gradually gonna get too much stress and too much demand, and it's gonna get injured inevitably. So that's why big toe dorsiflexion is a big deal. We're gonna start with a block or if you have like a rubber ball, like a physio ball, or a lacrosse ball, that might be too firm, or some other thing that works and is a little bit lower than this. This is a little too tall for me, but if you can shove it against the wall, kind of pin it down so it doesn't squirt out from under your toes, it's a really great tool. So what we'll do is just get the big toe pinned to the block. So I'm gonna start with my outside foot, which happens to be my left foot, but you can start with whichever foot you want. You wanna be able to stretch far enough that your other toes, well, you can't see that though, your other toes are on the ground while your big toe is in dorsiflexion stretch. See that? So I want all 4 toes that are not your big toe to be on the ground while your big toe stretches back. Okay, so we start with this stretch. If you want to make it a little dynamic, you could kind of rock forward and back here. I know part of the trick here is just trying to figure out what thing you could use for this drill. So find something that works, and then we stretch for 30 seconds to 2 minutes here. Then, let's just hold it for a minute. Then I'll explain what we'll do next. It's just like the drill we did prior. We're gonna try to push our toe through the block or whatever tool you have for 10 seconds. And then we'll immediately try to pull our toe off the block. And what that does is build strength at this dorsiflexion position. You need at least 70% dorsiflexion. I don't know what this is right here, maybe 70%. But up to 90%, especially if you're running fast, doing some track workouts and stuff like that, it needs, or going uphill quite a bit too, is a huge stressor for the big toe dorsiflexion. So let's start that. We'll do 3 cycles, just like we did before. And let's start with the pails, pushing in. It's kind of the way I remember it. So let's spend the first 10 seconds going from 0 effort to 100% effort here with that big toe, keeping the other toes on the ground. Are they still on the ground? Mine are not. There we go. Okay, here we go. Start to apply some load. 10, 9, and if the other toes participate, that's fine. 6, 5, we're heading toward 100%. 4, 3, 2, 1. 100% effort. Tip of your toe should be like a little bit weight. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Rails. Try to lift the big toe off the block. And if your other toes come up off the floor, that's okay. 7, 6. You can challenge yourself later to keep your big toe up and your little toes on the ground. 3, 2, 1. Rest. All right. If you're getting a pinchy pain as you move into the stretch, I want you to back off a little bit with your stretch. But if everything feels good, let's do another set just like that. This time we'll use 5 seconds to ramp up to 100% effort on the pails. So driving into that block. Let's go go from 0 to 100 in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Make a dent in that ball or that block, and we are at 100%. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Rails. Try to lift the toe off the block. If you can move it, by the way, it means you're not in the deepest stretch you could be in. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Rest. What I mean is if you're kind of short in the stretch and then you can pull your toe off the block later, that means you're not at your max end range and you're not really going to get anything. You're not going to get anything out of this drill. So move it in far enough. If you can't like stretch any further in without your next toe floating off the ground, then I'm okay with that. Just get that big toe into its biggest stretch. And let's go pails last set. From 0 to 100 effort. Ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 100% effort. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Rails. Pull it out. Try to pull it out. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Rest. Feel the stretch. Big breath in. Big breath out. And release it. I know this is super exciting stuff, isn't it? Let's do the second leg. Get done with this work for the day. So start with a nice stretch. And we can talk about shoes some more. So I mentioned splay. Toe splay is huge. Basically, it's like doing this with your toes. And when we walk around barefoot all the time, that's kind of like feet that are barefoot often and in barefoot shoes that leave room for your toes to wiggle do have this nice splay because they are much more beneficial. They give you much better support and they're much stronger foundation when they are not confined to the shoe coffins, depending on what kind of shoes you are using. So cushion is one thing, but just finding a shoe with a toe box that fits, or a shoe that fits the shape of your foot rather than having your foot fit the shape of the shoe is going to be a critical first step in making sure your foot health is going to be there for you for whatever amount of time you want to keep running for in the future. All right, let's do our 3 sets of pails, rails, heel here, starting with a 10-second ramp up to your first pails. So let's go ahead and do just 10% at a time. 10%. 20%, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. You are at 100% effort, making a dent in that block, and we're going for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Rails. Try to pull the toe back behind you. 9, 8, 7. There go my baby toes. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, rest, take a breath. Slow sigh, exhale. Rep number 2, take a breath. Get some tension, doesn't need as much as some things, but get some tension. Start to drive into the block. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, max effort. Push, push, push. 9, 8, stronger than the last rep. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, rails, pull it back. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, rest, breath. Keep it calm. Third and final rep. 5 seconds, ramp up to pails. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 100%. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, rails. Try to pull that toe back through your shin. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, rest, take a breath. Sigh it out. And then remove the toe from the block. Woo! How does that feel? Weird, right? All right. Awesome work today on all your running mobility drills. There's so much more we can get into, so I'm looking forward to sharing the next round of running mobility work. Until then, keep practicing these and good luck out there.